it was hard because I came up with that idea in my mind while I was sitting in the hot tub, and I was like, that's silly. Like, those people will never get. And I was like, no, that's exactly why you have to do it.
Yep.
And so then I went and did it, but overcoming that it was almost a shameful feel. Like, I can't believe I had that idea. Like, why would these people care?
What is up, everybody? And welcome back to the Schooling Struggle Podcast. It is our belief that the only guarantee in life is that we are all going to struggle, and how we choose to embrace our struggles is what empowers us to become the best versions of ourselves. How is it going? My name is Pete, coming to you from snowy Heartland, Vermont, and with me is my friend and co-host, the new granddad on the block.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Todd Ellis. Congratulations. Your son had a baby today.
He had, actually, it was yesterday at 11:38 or something such. I was sleeping, so p.m.
That is awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. The first girl.
Super.
The first granddaughter.
First granddaughter.
Yeah, so we got two other grandsons, but now the granddaughter. And she's not, she doesn't have red hair, so that's a step in the direction. I don't know if it's the right direction.
That's new action. A grandchild without red hair.
That is new action.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
For listeners out there, just to know, Todd's nursing a pretty serious cold right now, but he's pushing through it as the soldier that he is.
Might be some sniffles. Hard to say.
Speaking of pushing through it, I am excited to pick your brain tonight about all that is going on in your world with your new gig.
Yeah.
I just think it's actually, I'm fascinated by a number of things about it, but I have a couple of specific questions I want to lead off with in regard to your new gig.
All right.
For people that might not have tuned into the last episode or two featuring yourself, can you give us a brief update on what is going on with you?
After decades working in the IT industry, I took a year off. And, I was forced to take a year off. Anyways, I didn't work for a year. And then I secured myself a job at the Costco distribution warehouse in Sumner, Washington, which is a distribution hub for Costco that services 54 stores up and down the West Coast, mainly in the Pacific Northwest. So I work there building pallets and moving things around and offloading trucks and putting things on trucks, and it's chaos. It's mass chaos. And this is my fourth.
You went from primarily sitting in front of a computer to now moving around. You sent me some screenshots of your phone data of your steps.
Yeah.
And it seems that you're getting an insane amount of exercise during your 8-hour shift, 8:30 in the morning till 4:30 till 3:30 in the afternoon.
Like most people there are part-time. So Costco is an interesting, my experience so far with Costco and my understanding of it and its hierarchy and positions is most people there are part-time. They do it purposely. I don't know. I'm not sure why, but only after 5 years, or there's certain hourly criteria you have to meet, and after that, then somewhere around the 5-year mark, if you come to work every day, then they transition you to what they call full time, which just doesn't make any sense. I also work the night shift, which starts at 8:30 in the morning. So there's no telling what goes on there. So I'm still trying to decode all the nuances of what exactly that means. But yeah, it's basically 7 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Before we started recording, I was telling Peter about how crusty my laptop is and the desk out here that I used to sit at every day, and there's dust bunnies and all kinds of stuff out here. So
Todd was literally dusting off his microphone as we were getting ready to record. I was like, wow, you haven't been using, this thing hasn't been getting as much screen time as it once did.
No more online meetings, no more. Yeah.
So different.
I don't know if two things could be any more different, actually. So
what was the steps data? Was it like 30,000 steps in a day or something?
I don't know. No, I'm averaging
running a marathon every day.
No, it's on the average 10,000 steps is 5 miles. So today I got 15, so I rode the forklift a bit more today. I think I was averaging the first 2 weeks I was definitely up in the 25,000 steps a day, 60, 70 miles a week on my feet, just walking around at work. I don't mind walking.
With your new steel toe shoes.
Yeah, I got 2 pairs of steel-toed shoes, actually, because the first one didn't work out as well as I thought. Actually, I settled on Reebok. Reebok has steel-toed shoes, composite shoes. Yeah, so they're actually pretty comfy, yeah.
In framing tonight's episode, Todd has this new shift going on in his life, no pun intended.
Nice work.
Based on some of the texts that Todd has sent me over the last couple of weeks, I'm really intrigued to ask him a couple questions about it. And then for the second part of the conversation, I want to dig into something that I did recently, which was so amazing.
Nice.
Which was taking 27 high school kids out into the woods for 3 days and having them give up all digital contact with the world and kind of share with what transpired there. And it's more than just a conversation about my 27 students, but more of like a focus on humanity. Before we get into that, I'm curious. You share with me a number of texts about how you're learning so much and how different your life looks now that you are into working for Costco as opposed to your job with Microsoft. And I challenge you to come tonight equipped with the answer to a couple questions. And the one I want to lead off with, Todd, is when it comes to this, what is the biggest challenge for you?
This comes up a lot. And when I talk about it, it's funny. I want to preface it with the fact that my experience working at Costco, or my experience in the industry of warehouse work, is probably backwards from most people's experience. So I mean that in two different ways. One is I've had the privilege of working in a sector of work where abundant amounts of money have been made, benefits, like there's all these bells and whistles that I had in my old job. And now coming to this job, I come there with an understanding of the privilege that I've had over the last 20 years, and that affects the way that I see things in a way that I think people who are just entering the workforce. So there's a lot of kids that work there, younger adults that work there, and there's also a lot of people who have been in labor jobs for a very long time and have finally made it there. And so when we have these conversations about what goes on at work, it's through a different lens, and I want to make sure that I clear that up, because some of the things that I say I can seem kind of aloof or kind of flippant, but I think it's only through that lens that I'm able to see those things. I think the biggest challenge for me has been in that so far is the realization that there's a work ethic or a complacency in people's work ethic that it's allowed to occur. So it's very strange. Like, I like to keep myself busy, so I always look for somebody to help or some other thing to do. And there's tons of things there that you could be doing at any given time. The biggest challenge I'm finding at this point is either being willing to throttle that back because other people try to look busy, and there's plenty of work to do. So you could look busy, but you're really not doing it. You're not working as hard as you could. You know what I mean? So when I come in and I just want to kick ass and work as hard as I can, then it looks like I'm overachieving. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's like there's like this weird balance of I don't want to hurt everybody else's feeling because I know I can work harder or I enjoy working harder, but I also don't want to seem like I'm the guy that's trying to go get everything done, and those people, as a result, make them look bad. You know what I mean? So I think that's been the hardest part. And there's an overarching theme or understanding from the people who have worked there for a very long time that say, Costco's a great place to work, and this and that and the other thing, but and they kind of tiptoe around it, but it's like the supervisors and the management will know, and they will realize the people who work hard, but they're not going to put down the people who only work as hard as they have to, which is that's very hard for me to balance in my mind. So that's the current challenge at work, the struggle at work is like, how do I still keep myself busy and do the best job I can do while at the same time trying to navigate the feelings and all, like the reality of the work that goes on there.
You don't want to be undermining your coworkers or have them feel that you're undermining them.
Like, oh, look at this guy. And then another hard part is, and again, it's through my privilege and it's crass, but it's like I'm just here for the benefits. Like, that's all I need to get to my 90 days, then I'll get my medical benefits, and everything there works through thresholds, right? So if we don't have 500 trucks a day, they're going to ask some people if they want to go home, and I'm like, yeah, I'll go home. I'm not going to stand here and do nothing, you know what I mean? So yeah, I'll go home first. And other people are like, what? You're gonna let you go home? And I was like, well, I can't just say, well, I don't really need the money, I just need medical insurance, because that's arrogant, right? And so I have to find different ways to mask that, so it's
so do you feel that there's a sense of a contingency of people who are like, I'm okay not getting sent home because I want the money, and if I stay I don't really have to do much because there isn't much to do?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I was having a conversation with my buddy Steven last night about the same thing, and he was like, yeah, but aren't there like management that goes around and be like, hey, come on, let's pick, like you can move a little faster, and it doesn't happen there. Like they're never like could you just move a little faster? They're just like, yeah, you go easy, it's fine, So it's weird.
My buddy Doug, who comes on the podcast once a month now, he has some really interesting perspectives on like how humans are incentivized, like what drives us to do the things that we do,
Yeah,
and how can we incentivize humans to be kind of better versions of themselves in whatever arenas that they're operating in, whether it's the workforce, the
yeah,
family, fitness, all these things, right? Yeah, I'm just listening to you talk, and I wonder if your hard work has paid off for you over the course of your 20 plus, 30 plus year career. So you've seen the fruit of your labor, so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah,
So it's just in you to work hard because you've been incentivized to work hard in the past. Whereas either the setup there or whatever the reason is, some
yeah.
people don't have the same drive as you do because they haven't experienced those incentives to do that.
Maybe.
And
Yeah,
and as you know, I lived in I lived in Vietnam, where it's just very different. Like, it's not a capitalistic society. So you'd walk into the mall and there was just as many workers as there were customers, and they're all just standing around. But it's like the incentives weren't in place to go to the next level. And
yeah,
it's just such an interesting thought how humans are incentivized.
yeah. That is interesting because it's like I can see like places where I think inefficiencies lie, and I'm like hesitant to say something because it's like it's based on seniority, right? So it's like, oh well, that guy, we might listen to him more because he's been here for 10 years, and I'm like, yeah, but I have the new eyes, like I just see this over here. I'm like, why are we wasting all our time on this?
Yeah.
But nobody. So yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Why do we do it that way? Well, because we've always done it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, but it could work so much easier this other way. And then it's like, you've
Yeah.
been here for a week. Why don't you just? I was like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
So, second question, and I'm going to challenge you to answer this one different than the first one. First question was, what has challenged you? Second one is, what have you learned?
About the job or in context of
Yeah,
everything?
yeah. From your experience on
Yeah.
the new job site.
I've learned that people, I don't know if it's at Costco or maybe it's just in the industry, they're very kind. I wasn't expecting that. I thought when I think of blue collar work or like construction trades or whatever, I just think people are kind of rigid and like, the new guy, right? But here, even from day one, it was people would stop by and, oh, are you new here? I'm like, yeah, and they're like, oh, here's an easier way to do this, here's an easier way to do that. And I found that not only are they kind, like most people, there's a few that are not, but most people go out of their way to make you feel comfortable or to share of themselves, which I didn't expect that. So that's one thing that I learned. And I also learned, and you know that I'm pretty big on gratitude, but I learned that from things that I've learned in my previous role or through my previous role in my life, I've been able to take and exemplify that to people in ways that they didn't expect. So, for example, like when I first got there, the intake lady who did not the interview, but she did like the drug test and the like all the administrative kind of tasks, right? She's like this nice gal, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's so nice, right? And she's just like going over and above, to make it seem like, here's all the things you need to do, articulate all the things that are, here's what to expect, blah blah blah. So I was there for a week, and I started keeping track of all these different people that had kind of influenced me, and I was like, wow, that's you're actually going over and above. And so I was sitting in the hot tub one morning, and I was like, yeah, I'm just going to write them a little gratitude note. So I have all these cards that I used to use and just give to everybody. And so I 4 or 5 of them, and I wrote them up, and I got to work, and I started handing out these notes, and they couldn't believe it. They were just like, what? And so, like, in proximity to the office, like when you walk in the main door, it's the admin office, and then you go out, onto the floor and stuff. And so this one lady, I give her this card, and I was like, hey, I'm having a great day. I just want to say thank you, whatever, hand her this card. Everybody around just stops. They're like, what's this new guy giving you a card, right? So she opens it, and then she starts tearing
This
up.
weirdo that's showing gratitude.
Who's this guy trying to make adjustments to the workplace, And so I give her this card, she starts tearing up. She comes and hugs me. She's like, that means so much to me. And they're just like, what? And so, and then you can just see it kind of trickle out. And then, like, as I walk on the floor, there's other people. I'm like, you went out of your way to help me with this, and I think that's really cool. And so it's been a very cool learning experience to see how those kind of small gestures allow other people to almost normalize it. They're like, oh, thank you. They're already kind, but now it's just like everywhere I go, it's like there's more thanks going around, which I think is pretty cool. So, yeah,
it's fascinating how being human just transcends, like, regardless of workplace, regardless of project, just like you show a little bit of gratitude, whether you're working on computers or moving pallets, it's received the same way.
Yeah.
And that's that's human.
And
Yeah.
it was very difficult. It was hard because I came up with that idea in my mind while I was sitting in the hot tub, and I was like, "That's silly. Like those people are never get." And I was like, "No, no, that's exactly why you have to do it." And
Yep.
so then I went and did it, but overcoming that it was almost a shameful feel. Like I can't believe I had that idea. Like why would these people care about spreading gratitude? And I was like, this is exactly why. But it was weird that I thought that. I remember catching myself thinking, why would you think that wasn't going to be okay to do that? So
Yeah.
that's been one challenge. But
That's super cool.
yep,
I remember very early on in our podcast journey, and you talked about using gratitude as, as a force in your life. And
yeah,
this is just a really good example of that. So thank
yeah,
you for sharing.
yeah.
So my third and final question, and it sounded like there's a little bit of that in the answer you just gave, but I asked you, the first one was what challenged you. Second one was what did you learn? And the third question I have for you is, in your experience thus far with your new job, what has surprised you?
Yeah, it's kind of rolled into that, but I would say I think it's the level of the first 2 weeks there were very awkward. I guess I would say it was awkward. I mean, it was awkward for me because I'm a new guy coming from a complete different transition into work that I've never done. So obviously that's awkward for me. But the people there, by and large, weren't weren't very forthcoming with themselves personally. Does that make sense? So every morning we get there, and at 8:30 when you clock in, there's a little group huddle, and they say who's going where and what's doing what and what to expect for the day. And for the first 2.5 weeks, it was very clicky. The people who had been here forever, and then the new people, right? And there's only two or three of us, so it was like a great amount of them and a few amount of us. And then as we work with them during the day, you get to know like little nuances of them. But it was very strange how almost like as if a switch was flipped, and then they became like, oh, they're ribbing you in the break room. And I don't know if it's just because both sides kind of lighten up, or if it's just like they realize, oh, you're actually here to work, or you're going to stick around. Like I remember thinking to myself, how many times have they probably extended themselves and then been like, well, that didn't work, I'm not going to keep doing that, right? So that might play into it too. But that's been very surprising. Is it was as if a switch had flipped, and like now it's like, oh, I'm going to go to the party, and oh, you need a ride home, and it's like all this different stuff that had never been there before. So that was
you're
pretty
in now. You're in.
I don't know about in, but tighter for sure. Yeah, closer.
Yeah.
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 So, yep. But that's been surprising. And then the vastness of the entire thing. I think I don't know if I'll ever get over that overwhelm. Like when I was a kid, when I was younger, I worked at an international airport, and I fueled planes. And I remembered the guy as we pulled up to the first plane. He's like, "You're gonna know if you're gonna do this job in 5 minutes as we approach this plane." He's like, "Some people get underneath planes, like, and the vastness of them just puts them into like this fight or flight, like there's like freak out, right? And that didn't happen to me, but I could totally see how that like aircraft are huge, and you're underneath this thing, you're pumping gas into it, and it's like the size of this place is so enormous that I remember the first day I walked in, and the lady who was giving the interview, she's like, "Does this busyness bother you?" And I thought, well, I mean, there's things going on all over the place, but I wouldn't say it bothered me. And she's like, "You think you could just drive that thing right down the middle?" I was like, "I don't know why not," but it's so mind-bogglingly large that and yeah. So I think the size and the busyness of the entire thing is pretty. It's overwhelming, but it's pretty awesome.
So when you first shared with myself and the listeners about your first time there, you explained it as a warehouse that would take a half an hour to walk from one end to the other.
Yeah,
and then you explained how there's pallets of stuff going every which way. And so as I have a visual, I just have this picture of this giant warehouse that's super long, super wide, and super high, and there's just shelves and not even shelf scaffolding is what I picture of just stuff.
No scaffolding. It just goes. One side is the receiving side, so all of the stuff comes in from trucks, vendors, and wholesalers.
Okay.
And then that's offloaded most of the time by forklifts, and then it's staged to be put on other pallets, and then it goes to any of the 54 other doors to the other places. So it's just like,
okay. So it's coming in one side, being broken up, split up,
and
organized,
mass chaos to the other sides. Yep.
At any given moment, Todd, as you look out across the floor, how many different pallets in motion are within your purview?
Countless. I mean, there's
like hundreds?
Up to most pallet jacks will haul 4 doubles, so 8 full-size pallets double stacked, and those are going all day long. It's hard to explain. Like, it's just.
And are those are driven by people?
Yeah. Yep.
Is that what you do? You drive those things and load them up and get them all set, and then bring them to where they're supposed to go, and then go get an empty one and do it again?
Yep. Yep, that's it. That's the job. And I mean, there's other jobs too, the ancillary things like strapping them onto pallets, and then like when you start, it basically starts at you're the lowest level, and then as you get certified and accredited, then you move up in the stack. But
And
yeah,
you're filling it with things that anyone would buy at Costco, like
everything that anybody buys at Costco goes through there. So, yep.
okay, cool.
Yes, it is.
Well, congrats on your new gig. Sounds
Yeah,
like
thanks.
it's
Yeah, I'm nearing the end of week 4. I'm almost
week
not
4.
fresh.
You've already run 13 marathons.
I'm telling you what.
You're awesome with steel toe Reeboks on.
Ooh, yeah. The Keens didn't do well, but the Reeboks.
Nice.
They're worth
nice.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyways, tell me about your experience.
There's so much that I could share about this, but like it is so cool to go through the process. And this was a year-long process for me to get an idea, to communicate it to the people who can help you, to get all the green lights and the okays and everything to move forward with it, to then go and find the right people that are going to partner with you on this project, to then go and seek the funding and to get the funding, to then go and start the logistics process now that you have the money, the who, the what, the where, the when, the transportation.
Yeah.
Once we had all that in place, I had this idea. So basically, my idea was I want to take as many kids as I could off the campus for 3 days, have them hand their phone to me on their way onto the bus, and live like a kid of the 80s or the 90s without any technology for 3 days and just see what would transpire. Almost like an experiment, just to see. So that happened. We found the funding. We found there's literally one weekend in the school calendar that was open for us to do this, where there was no SATs and no other field trips going on and no sports. And we decided it happened to be in March, which in Vermont, March is the dead of winter. And I was like, all right, I have all this in place. Is there going to be one kid in this school who's willing to give up their phone and hang out with a couple of teachers for a weekend?
Yeah.
And as the cat, so we found a 4-season cabin in a summer camp. So it had heat, hot water, electricity, the whole deal. And we pitched it to the kids. We could take 27, and 65 kids applied.
Oh, man.
So then it was like, I thought we were going to be scrambling to come up with 20, because it was a 30-person cabin with 3 chaperones, so that we could max out at 27. And our rule was, if we got 12, we'd take them. If we couldn't get 12, it wasn't worth the money. Next thing we know is we got to figure out how we're going to get this down to 27 in a fair and equitable way.
Yeah.
So we do that. We run a lottery. We end up with kids in all grades, kids with different interests and kids with different hobbies and kids with different priorities of academics and all these things. And then once you get the kids, then you have to go through the whole process of everything with the medical, with the nurse and the doctors. You have to bring the EpiPens and make sure there's no shellfish on the trip and all these different things. So it's just constantly like building and building and building. And then we get on the bus and the kids all hand their cell phones, and I put them in little envelopes, and the kids put their names in the envelopes. I take all the cell phones and put them in a bag and stash them under my bed in the cabin. One kid didn't turn their cell phone off, so the alarm kept going off, all these things. Every kid is going to help cook, and every kid's going to help clean. And we have, you sign up for shower times. We have blocks during the day. You can choose a calm, relaxing indoor activity. You can choose to play capture the flag out in the snow. You can go tubing. We can go for hikes, all these things. And the kids were really, really so willing to do anything that was outside of their comfort zone. Like, going out and hiking.
Were these kids from your class?
No, this is 500 kids in my school. At any given semester, I have 6 weeks. I have 3 classes of 20. So a couple of them are kids that currently have or kids that I have had. But a bunch of the kids in the trip I'd never met.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we got in there and we gave them their bunks. We gave them their rooms. There was a couple rooms of 8 beds and a couple rooms of 3 and 4 beds. And it was so cool to see these kids operate in such a human fashion. They're all working together to chip in to cook. One of the questions we asked before going was, do you have any family recipes that you want to share with the group? And 2 kids are like, yep. One's like, I want to share my chicken schnitzel recipe with the group. And another kid's like, I want to share my chicken and rice curry recipe. So they each cooked one night and they led a team of kids and they're all working together. And then they finish. And then the cleaning crew comes in and they're so willing and they're just like so happy to help. And then it's time to go outside and play manhunt at 11:30 at night in the woods in the snow. It was literally snowstorm while we were there. It snows 4, 5, 6 inches. And they're out there running through the woods, just having the time of their life. I was like, this is going to be cool. And then like after the first day, they're like, Mr. D, this is the coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
So it's like a 5th grade camp for
for kids that never got to go to camp in 5th grade, right?
Yeah.
And kids that didn't know each other are now having conversations. And if you're, I don't know, maybe this is hard to digest if you're not a teacher and you don't see the barriers that digital platforms provide for kids each day.
Yeah.
Like these two kids sit in class and sit next to each other in class for an entire semester, which is a half a year, and they never speak a word because whenever there's downtime, they just pull up their phones and scroll. So we do all these activities and we all do all these things and the days are full and then it's time to go to bed and they just want to hang out with each other all night and talk.
Are there campfires and
play
stuff?
games. Yep, campfires, s'mores, hot dogs,
Yeah.
movies, the whole deal. But we had specific like plans from like each day there was 3 blocks. So we'd wake up in the morning, a group of kids would cook breakfast, a bomber breakfast, eggs, sausage, waffles, pancakes, bacon, bagels, and like the breakfast crew came down and made breakfast and everyone just chilled out and had breakfast, like nice slow start to the morning with coffee and tea for 2 hours. And then we go into block 1 and there was 3 chaperones. We each led an activity. There'd be a couple options outside, an option inside. So just like chill board games inside or like forced conversations. I do what I call forced fun conversations where I ask kids questions and we go around and we answer them. And like they really start to open up, like what's your most embarrassing moment or what's a food that you think the majority of people in the world like, but you hate. And like these just really open up to these conversations these kids just don't have. Like even when the kids hang out during the regular school day at lunch, they all sit down together, but they all pull out their phones and they're all just like, if they're communicating, they're showing each other stuff on their phones.
Yeah.
So we did that and they were just so fulfilled. And, you know, they came down the next morning like, Mr. D, like I had no idea how well I slept without my phone next to me all night with all the notifications and all this stuff going off. And I was like, I'm glad you slept because your phones were binging all night underneath my bed.
Right.
Next time, turn them off. But they just forged connections with kids they never would have. The depth of the conversation was something that they wouldn't have. Their willingness to just like try new things, play this new game they've never played before, and try that food they'd never tried before, and talk to this person they've never talked to before. Like as a teacher of 18 years, it was so magical.
That's awesome.
And then at the end, I just threw a box of 200 thank you cards on the table. I'm like, hey, if anyone wants to fill one out to someone who positively impacted their trip, go for it.
There it is.
And they're thanking the bus driver and they're thanking the teacher who provided the maple syrup for us for free and the teacher who donated digital cameras because they weren't allowed to have their phones to take pictures. And to each other, just tons and tons of thank you cards. Some just sat there for hours and just wrote thank you cards to each other. Okay. And it was just so cool. So then we get back to school and they're all like, Mr. D, I just want to go back to the cabin. Like, what do we have to do to go back to the cabin? They organized a lunch, all 27 of them, and we showed up, but like in a room. They picked a room in the school. They're like, yeah, we're just going to get together for lunch so we can be with each other today. And we just hung out together. And it was just so special to see these kids get a chance to detach from what is their normal life and how social media and their phone plays a role in that. And I think the awareness, you and I talk about awareness all the time, the awareness of the cell phone addiction was really apparent to them. And they realized that what a fulfilling time they could have being surrounded by people who are in the same boat as them, right? When we talked, they're like, it was nice because everyone else was doing it. If we went back to school and we didn't have our phones, but everybody else did, it's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had a day where we all packed a lunch and we all went for a hike through the snow and up the hill and down the hill and across the stream to these tree houses. And we had a picnic in the tree house. And they were just so willing to do anything that was like put out to them. And it was just so cool to see kids be kids. And we got some amazing thank you cards from the kids. We got some really, really cool emails from parents just saying, you know, I feel like my kid's trying to live in an adult world on this phone. And the fact that my kid could be a kid for 3 days was so special. And a lot of parents reported like my kid came back just like different, willing to talk again and willing to like have conversations with me and just came back just a little different. And we just want to say thank you. And it was so cool to see the human side of this all transpired. It was just a really, really good reminder to me what the technology can be as a barrier in my life and what it is as a barrier in my household, just my interactions with my daughter and my wife. What can happen if we're willing to do something that is outside of our comfort zone and what can yield from that. And I just feel so grateful to be in a community that entrusted me to do this. You know, my daughter's everything to me, and these parents entrusted us to take their kids out into the woods for 3 days.
Maybe they were like, get these kids out.
Yeah. I've been teaching for 18 years is without question one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of.
That's awesome.
And
Well, to
I'm
follow
so
the
grateful.
line, what challenged you with that? Was there any snafus?
There wasn't many snafus. I mean, there's stuff like kids were playing frisbee and one kid caught a frisbee in the face and
Yeah, sure.
that kind of stuff. I would say what challenged me was I harbored a ton of anxiety the day or two before. Like I didn't sleep a couple nights before. My stomach was turning. I'd put so much into this.
Yeah.
Like, is this actually going to work? And then we get there, and
Is it work, or is it like how would it be received? Like, are they going to care when they get there?
Are they just going to be wanting to get the heck out and be calling home because they want to get out early?
Right.
And there was a landline there. We told them, we're like, look, the goal here is not to pull you away from your families. The goal here is to pull you away from your phone. There's a landline right there. You can call home anytime you want. There's no shame in doing that. Yeah. And some of them they did. They just called and checked in with their families and said, hey, this is what's happening. And the families appreciated that, which was cool. But to answer your question, like in every group of 30, there's introverts and there's extroverts, right?
Yeah.
And the extroverts are all in on playing games, and there was a ping pong table there and a foosball table there and an air hockey table there and a big TV downstairs and like a couch to hang out on. And those extroverts, they just slid right in. But the introverts were trying to find their way, and I was like harboring a little like anxiety for them. Like, are they just going to be bored? So like I'd go over and sit down with the kids that are more introverted or the kids that hadn't quite kind of found their spot. Yeah. And I just had some amazing one-on-one conversations. So those like worries of me or the things that challenged me ended up being like some of the coolest parts of it. Because I learned one girl who I didn't know, I sat down and said, I'm curious to know what's your motivation for this trip. She's like, my social studies teacher told me that I had a phone addiction. He challenged me to go 24 hours without a phone. So I saw this come up and I said, screw it. I can do 3 days. I want to prove to him that I can do 3 days. Nice. And I was like, that is awesome. Like, I wouldn't have known that had I sat down and chatted with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, what challenged me was a severe lack of sleep. The first night I got less than 3 hours of sleep. And the second night I got just under 4 hours of sleep. So that was challenging. But
yeah. Well, what surprised you?
What surprised
aside
me,
from all the other things you already said.
Yeah. What surprised me was how well the kids work together to do stuff. And I think the meals is a really good example of that. Like,
did you intentionally do it that way? Like,
yeah, we told them like part of the deal is you're going to chip in with all this. Like,
there's going to be a teamwork effort.
Chip in, clean. Yep,
a lot of things were constructed around that.
A teamwork piece of this. We asked them what they wanted to eat, and then we went out and bought all the ingredients, and then we said, all right, this is what's for dinner tonight. Like, this person's doing chicken. Yeah. We also need to have this pasta. We also need to have this salad. We need to have this. And kids are like, okay, I got the salad. I got the pasta. I got the sauce. I got the chicken. And we just stepped back and they just seamlessly just like figured it out.
That's awesome.
And it was just, and kids that were not like friends, kids that didn't know each other, like, hey, can you pass the so-and-so? Hey, a hot pot behind you coming through. Like, just like to just watch them collaborate so seamlessly was so cool. And then kids would be like, yep, I got clean up. Like, no big deal. Like, you wash, I'll dry, I'll wipe the tables down. Like, just to see them, I don't know. I feel like kids have such a reputation for being like no work ethic and they don't have ability to socialize. And sometimes I fall in that trap seeing them, but like they just were just absolute superstars with how they interacted with each other, how they collaborated, how they cooperated, and how they leaned on each other. And then we all sat down to this meal and was like, hey, thanks to that person for preparing our meal tonight. And they're all like, yeah, thanks so much. Like, there's such a positive vibes.
That's awesome.
And it was really, really special.
What do you attribute that to? Just the fact that it was like so outside of their comfort zone and displaced from the normal.
So one thing we have to acknowledge is that these particular kids chose to do this.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
We're not forced to do
Absolutely,
this.
Yes.
So they entered with a willing mindset of, okay, I am willing to put my phone away. I don't really want to, but my friends are doing it too, so I'm going to do it. It's like anything with expectations. Like the expectation was you're going to chip in, you're going to help, and I think they just they met that expectation. They met the bar.
That's cool. Well,
yeah.
What did you learn?
I learned a ton. I learned what a true barrier cell phones are to human connection.
You had to physically remove them, or they had to be given up, right? And there may be no way you can answer this or anticipate it, but maybe given your tenure in teaching and technology, had there been like a limit put on phones, do you think it would have been the same experience?
No.
Not even close. Yeah.
I think if phones were present in any capacity, it would not have been the same experience. They share with us the first night. They're like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I found myself like tapping all my pockets and like looking all over my bed for my phone, and then being like, "Oh, that's right, I don't have it."
Getting all
like that habit, that anxiety of I don't know where my phone is, took a little while to go away. They were really nervous that when they were bored, whenever they're bored, they just go to their phone, and their phone kind of like pacifies them until the next thing.
But they saw that,
and I knew that I wasn't going to have that, so I had to go do something. Yeah. I couldn't just let this thing do for me. I had to go find the game that people were playing and jump in, or I had to go find the conversation that people were having, or I had to go curl up on the couch or the chair and read. I've known that the phone is a barrier to human connection, but this was very stark to me. Like, wow. Like, we removed this thing just for 3 days, and the depth of connection that these kids felt with one another was like something they never felt before. I almost felt bad for them. It's like this was my whole life, and you got it for 3 days.
Yeah, that's not.
You know,
I had a thought, and I don't want to. If you have additional, I just want to put it out there so you can be thinking about it in the back. You said that after you got back to school, these same kids like planned a lunch or some kind of get together, right? Yeah. I've been on enough group activities to know that when you're there, you're riding the high, and when you get back, you're like, "Ooh, that was awesome. Let's keep this together." But are there plans to keep that connection, or at least the conduit open, so they can keep doing that?
So that's not going to come from me, or that's not going to come from the adults. We're not going to force that on them.
No, not force. But I mean, is there holes that are open that say you can actually do this, and you don't have to be at camp to do this thing?
Yeah, so they share with us like, hey, a group of us we're going to the movies this weekend together.
Oh, cool.
Like, that we wouldn't have hung out with otherwise. And my principal wants to meet with them and just pick their brain about stuff. My principal will provide lunch for them, and so they'll be able to do that kind of stuff. Cool. But like from here on out, it's like, you had this opportunity. What are you going to do with it? And that's up to them.
Yeah, but they understand that, right? I think that's the hardest part.
I think so.
Are you planning to do this again? Hopefully.
I'd like to do it again, yes. Yeah. They're already asking if they can go again, but the reality is we're not going to have to advertise the trip. These kids came back and sold it to the school.
We had 65 on the list. We'll just pick up the next group. That's cool. Yeah. Congratulations. I think so what else did you learn?
I'm going to go back to that to wrap up this conversation in a moment, because I have something that I think is worthwhile sharing. Yeah. But as far as the last question, what surprised me, I'm really shocked at how easy it was and how smooth it was. Like,
well, it doesn't sound like it really. Like, you had a lot of logistics.
setting up all the logistics, but once we got there,
it just took care of it.
I feel like I could just step back and let it go. And so we had planned activities for the first couple of days, and then it just morphed into they just led their own activities, and that's kind of the goal, right?
That's how you've done it right. It just takes care of itself.
Yeah, it was taking care of itself. Like we had some activities planned toward the end, and we went down to like gather them all together just to tell them, and they were already all doing stuff. We're like, why are we going to break this up to like force something else on them?
Yeah,
like we had some conversation topics planned. They're talking to each other. We had some games planned. They're playing games. Like, we want to take them outside. They're already going outside. So it's just like,
that's the key point, is having that awareness yourselves. Like, for the chaperones, like, this might not be what we planned, but it's already just organically feeding itself. So let's just step back and allow that to happen.
Surprised me. Exactly. Yeah. It organically fed itself. Even the giant cleanup at the end before we're leaving, they're all chipped in. Like, 30 people lived there for 3 days.
Yeah,
like,
for real.
And I was like, this is going to be impossible to clean up. It's amazing how quick 30 people that care can clean up a place.
Yeah.
30 minutes. We had the entire place perfect.
Good on you. Nice work. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just looking into, I've always been fascinated by this, and this was kind of the premise for the trip, but it's like, how does social connectedness like affect us? What does social connectedness do for us? Right. So like I looked this up, and actually I think the CDC has a pretty good kind of like piece on this, but it's basically like that when we're socially connected, our minds, our bodies, our behaviors are influenced, and that positive influence enhances our health and our life expectancy, right? So research shows that social connectedness can lead to a longer life, better health, and improved well-being. They have all these studies to back it up. Social connectedness is defined as the degree to which people have and perceive a desired number, quality, and diversity of relationships that create a sense of belonging and being cared for, valued, and supported.
Let me ask you a question about that. It's interesting for me to think about how you've segregated two different groups of social connectedness, right? So you removed the phone social connectedness, and you allowed or promoted physical connections or proximity connectedness. Do you think that there's perhaps a misconception about social connection? We call it social media, right? So people are like, oh, I'm being social. La, 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 I got my phone. But you've experienced that's not the kind of social I'm talking about, right? So I wonder if there's a teaching point in there. Like, I mean, I believe you already did that, but it's interesting how when you say social connection, what some people believe that to be and what you really think that is.
I think what I witnessed is, whether these kids recognized it outwardly or not, the depth of the connection of a shared experience is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So if we took all 27 of those kids and had them do one giant FaceTime all together without stopping from their homes, would they feel the same level of connection that they did if we did what we just did?
Yeah, right.
Or
they're all on one platform, or they all watch the same video, right? Like it's
right.
different, but it's tangible.
And I'm a social media immigrant, right? Like I didn't grow up with it.
Yeah.
Whereas my kids are social media natives, like they grew up with it. I have a 46-year-old perspective that, just because they think they're connected to this quote unquote friend that they've never met on the internet, they're not as connected as they could be if they like grew up in the same space together. Yeah. Whereas they might say, well, dude, you're wrong. Like I feel just as connected to this internet friend as you felt to your best friend that was in your neighborhood when you grew up. And
it's just different.
There's no right or wrong. It's just different. Yeah. But it was really cool for them to experience what it's like to have this non-digitized connection.
Yeah. They'll never forget that. That's the coolest part.
I don't think so. I don't think they'll ever forget it. And I think that what they shared with each other, with me after, it was a big deal for them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Basically, what CDC is saying, and I just saw this, is that when this happens, having meaningful and regular social exchanges, you feel a sense of support, right? From your friends, families, others. This is just stuff that we think is just like normal, but the studies have shown this: having close bonds with others, feeling loved, cared for, valued, appreciated by others, having more than one person to turn to for support. This includes emotional support when feeling down, physical support that you need, access to anything. People are there to support you. Because of that feeling of connectedness, people with stronger social bonds, according to these studies, have a 50% increased likelihood of survival than those who don't in those types of situations.
Yeah.
And social connection with others obviously improves your ability to recover from stress, anxiety, depression. And then when you're surrounded by people, it promotes healthy behaviors, healthy eating, physical activity. It can improve your sleep quality, your wellness, reduce the risk of violent and suicidal behaviors, reduce the risk of various chronic diseases that come with those other mindset pieces, neurodegenerative stuff. Like I've known all this from reading the studies, but to see it transpire in front of me with real people in real time was so powerful. It's just a reminder to me, like, prioritize those connections.
Yeah. To me, that like kind of underlines your purpose. Like that's what you're always about, is like creating, the best place for people to do these things. And here you've just gone and done it again. Look at you.
It's just when you believe something and then it's like totally affirmed and confirmed. It's like, okay, like, let's go. Like, this is awesome. I love this.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. Like, I got back on such a high. My colleagues are like, oh, how was it? I'm like, I can't even describe in English words the power of this. Super That's cool. To all the listeners out there, we really do appreciate your ears. We thank you for your time. We are incredibly grateful for your attention. On behalf of my employed friend, who is a grandfather of 3 now.
3 times.
We are the School and Struggle Podcast. We are out.
See ya.